Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well as usual. Thanks for joining me again and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm continuing with my black metal vinyl collection. So this video is entitled Black Metal Vinyl Volume 5. The last one I did, Volume 4, was quite a while ago. So I thought this one was kind of long overdue. And you might recall from that video, the last vinyl I looked at was Dimmu Borgir's Godless Savage Garden. So that's probably why that video got some dislikes, because according to some elitists, you're not allowed to like Dimmu Borgir if you like black metal. But whatever, I like that particular album, that's why I showed it, so yeah. In today's video, I'm starting with the letter E in the black metal vinyl collection, and I've got 5 to talk about as usual, so let's get started. Okay, the first vinyl I'm going to show today, this is an album I've never talked about before. This is DRENGSKAPUR with Was der Molast verschlang. Yep, so in case you were wondering, this is actually a German black metal band. You can tell easily from the title. So what that title means, Was der Molast verschlang, that translates to what the morass swallows. So morass referring to a bog or a swamp in the ground. So this artwork, apart from being really cool, is very appropriate for the title. And the way I discovered this band, it's a pretty underground German black metal band, but I discovered them through the Black Metal Promotion channel. So some of you might be familiar with that. It's a channel on YouTube and Facebook as well, where they just share new albums or new songs from underground black metal bands from all over the world. And they show an extensive amount. So it's impossible to keep up with everything they show, but once in a while when I'm doing some free listening, I'll just glance over the channel. And this was one of the bands that I just happened to pick to listen to randomly one day, and I thought I really liked it, so I ordered it from the Bandcamp. It's excellent stuff, so I would strongly recommend this. It's nothing groundbreaking, as is the case with a lot of black metal bands these days. It's hard to reinvent the wheel, but this is just excellent, high quality black metal. It's kind of like the riffs are very fast and striking, and easy to hum along to, so in that sense, it's very much in the vein of a lot of Finnish bands. You know, these modern day Finnish black metal bands, they have those very epic hum-along kind of riffs. It often reminds me musically of bands such as Goatmoon and Satanic Warmaster, which is a good thing because I like the music of those bands a lot. So yeah, the riffs and the melodies are very striking and emotive. The second song actually has a riff which sounds like the opening song from Horner's Enthroned album, you know, which is my favorite album by Horner. So very sort of bleak and dreary, which is no wonder why I like this. And you can see here, bleak and dreary, this artwork suits it perfectly. So in addition to that, those kind of standard bleak black metal riffs, it also has some clean guitar melodies for added atmosphere and some very epic moments on this album. There's also a variety of tempos throughout, and while it's very emotive and bleak, it's also very melodic. What I also like about this is, of course, riffs are the most important thing, but the drums are nicely audible and give the album some balls with a really crisp and heavy sound, so not too loud in the mix, but certainly not too low. And there's a lot of double bass drumming, blast beats, and mid-pace beats, which enable it to be catchy as well. The rhythms are often quite bouncy, a bit like Goatmoon, you know, those kind of bouncy, catchy rhythms which they have. So, yeah, it's fantastic. The vocals are kind of standard black metal screams, but that's what we've come to expect, so no complaints there. It's just black metal done well. So yeah, as I said, it's not reinventing the wheel, but if you just like sorrowful, emotive black metal with good riffs, powerful drumming, and just those kind of riffs that you can hum along to, particularly Finnish bands, you will really like this. So I'll just show you the actual vinyl. Yep, so it comes on this black vinyl with the cool labels of the forest and nature. And I think there's other goodies enclosed. Yes. Yeah, and it also comes with this cool booklet rather than an insert or a sleeve. So you see here, this is the main cover replicated, and it's got all of the lyrics inside, which are in German. Yep, like I can understand and speak German, but generally with this kind of music, I don't always pay attention to the lyrics, but you get the idea of the atmosphere. So really cool booklet. And this one, you can see my copy is 226 out of 500, so I'm not sure if there are any of these still available, but I did get an email from the band's Bandcamp recently saying that their new album's coming out soon. So you might at least be able to get the new album, and quite possibly there are some copies of this left as well. Yeah, like I said, just dreary and emotive black metal, and I would recommend this for fans of Goat Moon, Satanic Warmaster, Horner, so three fantastic Finnish bands there, and also early Ulva and Agalok in terms of the acoustic guitars. So absolutely great album. This is DRENGSKAPUR mit Was der Morast verschlang. All right. So coming up next, now the next album I'm going to talk about, I'm aware of the fact that this is not a black metal band, strictly speaking, it's folk metal. So just before anyone, you know, jumps the gun and says, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, folk metal's not black metal. Yes, I'm aware of that, but you have to admit, first of all, I do these vinyl videos in 3 categories. So heavy metal, death metal, and black metal. So folk metal, in my opinion, fits most closely with black metal in the sense that a lot of those folky bands have things in common with black metal, such as Moon Sorrow and so on. Particularly with folk metal, when there's no melodic vocals, they're those sort of harsh, raspy vocals similar to black metal. And of course, folk metal has that connection to Viking metal, which is also related to black metal. So, like I said, I'm aware, everyone, that this is not a black metal band, but I'm including it in this category for all intents and purposes. Okay, so the album I'm talking about, this is Ensiferum with Iron. Yeah, so this band is commonly regarded as really melodic death metal, but it has a Viking theme, so and elements of folk as well. So that's why I'm including it in this category. It fits in with black metal more than general heavy metal or death metal. And you've got to admit, even with melodic death metal, that even has a lot in common with black metal as well, again with the raspy vocals and the guitar tone and everything. So that's why I've included it here. I have shown this in a collection update before, but if you're not familiar with Ensiferum, yes, it's fast and energetic melodic folk metal, but elements of Viking metal. Again, there's the raspy kind of black metal-y vocals and those really sort of folky, catchy melodies, which make you picture being in Scandinavia during the Viking era. So yeah, really cool stuff. I have the debut album by this band as well. This is the second one. I have spoken about it before, but if you just like that kind of music, which is fast, melodic, and folky, and creates that kind of Nordic atmosphere, you will absolutely love this. My favorite songs, again, there are no bad songs on this, but my favorites, as I mentioned before, I think, are Sword Chant, which is track 3 on side A, and also, what were the others? Into Battle, I think. Yeah, Into Battle, and La La Hey, which has got a very sort of folky kind of atmosphere. But yeah, really good stuff. If you want to check out my more detailed review of this album, I'll leave the link to the first video where I talked about this. I talked about it quite extensively, so I'm just showing it today, really. But you see, I also mentioned this is one of my favorite cover artworks of all time. You've got the triumphant Viking standing on the mountainside with the horse and the Finnish flag, watching a battle take place below the mountains in the valley. Really cool. And what's also nice about this one is it comes on this bright orange vinyl. Now, I know some people hate colored vinyl, and orange, I actually really like it. And you see, so it's got the band logo there and the picture of the aforementioned Viking. Only problem with this, it's actually warped for me. So I'm kind of an OCD person. When I watch it play, it upsets me to see it wobble on the turntable, but hey, shit happens, it still plays. Just have a look. Comes on this gatefold here with lyrics, and just look at this photo of the band. What's not to like? Awesome. And you'll notice they've got this woman in the band, I can't pronounce her name, she's the keyboard player. She also does clean female vocals on the last track. But yeah, brilliant stuff. So if you, Ensiferum, like I said, it's not black metal, but if you like bands such as Moon Sorrow, Korpiklani, even aspects of Children of Bodom, you will probably like this. So as I said, I know it's not black metal, but this is the closest category. But great album anyway, Ensiferum with Iron. Okay. Coming up next is another album I've also spoken about in a recent collection update, so I'm not going to go into much detail. This is Enslaved with Utgard. Now, once again, I'm familiar with the fact that Enslaved are not black metal, but you have to admit, in their early days, particularly those albums, Viking Leader, Veldi, and Frost, even aspects of Eld, were very much connected with black metal, also Viking metal, but then this band, of course, evolved into a sort of progressive extreme metal band which defied classification, taking inspiration from a lot of progressive rock elements, but really interesting. So yeah, once again, I'm not saying this is black metal, but it's black metal related, hence the title of this video. But yep, again, I gave an extensive review of this recently in a collection update, so I'm not going to say much, but what I'll just say briefly is what Enslaved fans will like about this album is that it's a great marriage between the old and the new. So if you like the early albums, there's elements of that there with the raspy vocals and the fast black metal riffs and pummeling drumming. But of course, there's those interesting modern elements with the experimentation, the prog rock, and the use of electronics, effects, and keyboards. So it's a really, really interesting album. Now, as I've mentioned with Enslaved, there's been a few albums which didn't grab me, especially Mardrum and Monumention. And after I made that Enslaved video, I went and listened to all of their albums. To be honest, there's still a lot of albums which don't do it for me, but then it was kind of around the time when they released E and the one before that. That's, for me, that was when it was a real return to form and like an interesting band. Not that I'm saying they're boring, but just in my opinion, they grabbed my attention again. Yeah, but this is great. Cool cover art as well. And I've shown this before, but I'll show it again for those who didn't see. Yep, so plain black vinyl with the crow or raven, some kind of bird on the front, which is cool. And also this insert, which opens up like a book, so that's nice. And all of the lyrics there. Yeah. And I think there's more inside the gatefold. It comes in this rather boring gatefold, but the book makes up for it. But again, I love that cover art so much, especially with that tower in the distance. It's just very atmospheric, and it suits the atmosphere of the music on this album. Yeah, so like I said, Enslaved I haven't been a consistently big fan of Enslaved throughout all of their albums, but certainly the early ones. And now, as I've said, with these later ones, I'm getting interested again. So yeah, and also they released their new album just recently entitled Heimdall. That got really good reviews, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. This is the most recent one before that, and I recommend it for both old and new Enslaved fans. There's something for everyone. So that's Enslaved with Utgard. Okay, now coming up to the last two. I've spoken about these before, well, one of them anyway. The next band, this one I just mentioned in a recent collection update. This is, of course, Enthroned with Towards the Skullthrone of Satan. So, classic Belgian black metal. So not only did I mention this in a recent collection update, but those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I did an Enthroned ranking video. So if you haven't seen that, I'll link it in the description, where I ranked all of the Enthroned albums. But spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that video, this is my favorite Enthroned album of all time, hands down. It wasn't the first one I heard, but it's certainly my favorite, just because it's just that perfect blend between aggression and atmosphere. If you haven't heard Enthroned, particularly this album, it sounds like blasting aggressive black metal in the vein of Marduk, but there's a few more elements because they also include acoustic guitars and keyboards for some atmosphere. So it's sort of like a more atmospheric version of Marduk, but it retains that same aggression, and there's also quite a lot of melody in the guitars, and it takes influence from 80s heavy metal as well. But yeah, really great album. So just about every song on this album is fantastic, so I'm not going to, mention all of them in detail, but some of my favorites would be Har Shaitan, Evil Church, Dusk of Forgotten Darkness is probably my favorite, especially with the atmosphere created by the keyboards on that song, as well as Herr Torgenwald. So they're four of all of the songs, but as I said, they're all brilliant, and so many memorable moments on this album. It's fantastic. So just really excellent European melodic black metal. So that's Enthroned with Towards the Skullthrone of Satan, and it also includes, this is a double vinyl. I hate double vinyl because you have to turn it over more, but with this one it's a double vinyl because it also includes the Regi Satanas EP. So that was the one that they released as a tribute to their original drummer Sonanos after he committed suicide. So that one came out after Towards the Skullthrone of Satan. Some fantastic tracks on that too, like By Dark Glorious Thoughts, Walpurgis Night, and the cover of The Conqueror and re-recording of Deny the Holy Book of Lies. Just absolutely brilliant. So I'm not going to mention the music anymore. If you'd like to see a more detailed review of this album, you can check out my Enthroned ranking video. All right. So, yeah, it's double vinyl, but as I said, because it includes an album and an LP, I'll just show one of the vinyls because they're the same. Goddamn fan. Yep, so there's the Enthroned logo, plain black vinyl. There we go. So yeah, they both look like that. Yeah, so as I said, this is hands down my favorite Enthroned album of all time, but in my opinion, Enthroned have never really released a bad album. And oh, I nearly forgot to show you this. Cool cover art, of course, and all of the lyrics here, and portraits of members of the band. And interestingly, oh yeah, so they include the photo of Cernunnos. He had already passed away by the beginning of this album. But they used a session guy called Dark Hardern to play drums on this album, but the drumming is fantastic. So, yes, brilliant album, and my favorite by Enthroned. That's Enthroned with Towards the Skullthrone of Satan and Regi Satanas. All right. Okay, getting through this faster than I hoped, so that's always good. The next album I'm going to show, I have talked about this album, but I've never shown the vinyl version. And I'm talking about Enthroned with the Apocalypse Manifesto. So this is a very important Enthroned album to me. In my ranking, I ranked it as 5th best Enthroned album overall, but it's important to me because it was the first one I ever heard. As a result of hearing a song on a compilation, I think it was Genocide Concerto for the Razors, that made me interested in this band. This particular album, unlike Towards the Skullthrone of Satan, it's going more for the Marduk sound. I think that these guys toured with Marduk in the mid-90s and they must have been inspired by them a lot. This is very much like Marduk's Heaven Shall Burn album, you know, so there's no frills, like no acoustic guitars on this album, no keyboards, like, because, you know, that sort of going in that Marduk vein that was considered wimpy or something. But yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. It was also recorded in the Abyss studio, so very fast and aggressive and blasting like Marduk. So if you like Marduk's style of riffing and, you know, that relentless percussive assault, you will definitely like this. The only difference I think with this album is, again, it takes more influence from 80s metal than Marduk does. So there's a lot of 80s melody in there, you know, particularly taken from thrash bands such as Creator and Sodom, I think. So yeah, it's just a really interesting album, a mix of Marduk and 80s heavy metal, very aggressive and excellent production. Although this one was produced by Tommy Tegtron, you know, Peter's brother. I think Peter mustn't have been available. So on the CD version, it sounds quite thin, but when this plays on vinyl, the drumming and the bass is thunderous. So I have no complaints, but it has that kind of, in a way, a kind of thin sound, which adds to its rawness. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. So some of my favorite songs on this would be the title track, The Apocalypse Manifesto. Death Faceless Chaos is great, especially with that breakdown melody and the bellowing growls at the end. My absolutely favorite track on this album is Retribution of the Holy Trinity. Just a medley of awesome, razor-sharp, heavy riffs. Fantastic. So definitely check out that song, Retribution of the Holy Trinity. Also, Genocide Concerto for the Razors, classic, some frantic guitar solos in that, absolutely brilliant. And one that actually has grown on me a lot recently is Folk and der Antigott. And yeah, it concludes with Alastor Rex Perpetuus Dolores and The Scourge of God, which is kind of like a slower atmospheric track talking about Attila the Hun. And I think that track took inspiration from Marduk's Dracul e Domni, from Marduk's Heaven Shall Burn. So you can see how they were even conceptually inspired by Marduk. That's my feeling anyway. But yeah, absolutely brilliant album. So when I say it's the 5th best, Enthroned have over 10 albums. So it's definitely one of the best. There's just other ones I like more than this, but yeah, fantastic album. So, just show you the disc. This one's cool. I bought it at Concerto Records in Amsterdam, which is appropriate because this band's from Belgium, so just next door. Cool label and nice colored vinyl, of course, so that kind of clear red. And it's consistent with the cover art, which is cool. And sorry, I have to edit this out. God damn it. Yep, and so in addition to this iconic cover artwork, it comes in a gatefold. So yep, all of the lyrics there, which are very powerful and over the top, like so descriptive and amazing. So here's the lineup. It was Blackthorn on drums, Nornegest on guitars, Neberos on lead guitar, and Sabathan on bass and vocals. So this was in many ways considered like the classic mid-period lineup of Enthroned. Yeah, so absolutely fantastic album. Check it out if you haven't. Enthroned with the Apocalypse Manifesto. Okay guys, so that's it for today. 5 black metal or black metal related vinyl. So once again, don't jump down my throat and say Ensiferum and Enslaved are not black metal. I'm aware of that, but like I said, they're kind of related genres. So yeah, let's not get all technical about it. So if you've made it this far through the video, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And once again, thank you to everyone for their continued support of the channel, and also to all of the new subscribers. So I really appreciate everyone's interest in the channel. All right, so I'm going to be busy in the next couple of weeks, so I'm not sure when I will be back, but it will be relatively soon. So yeah, take care until then, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.